So today I am going to talk about something that people believe is the culprit of all our terrible sleep. It's the reason oh my God, everyone's sleep is so bad now because of blue light and all this kind of stuff, which is not untrue, but it's not the whole picture. And that's a little bit what I'm going to touch on today. What I'm going to talk about today is a huge area. There's loads of research going on in this area at the moment. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background so that you can better understand why blue light is a problem. And then I'm going to talk about the other things that have happened with, that have come along in terms of, it's not just the blue light, it's other things that have happened that have caused this kind of down regulation of people's sleep, really. So today, there is a bit of sciencey stuff. I'm going to talk about that at the end, actually. Remind me, Zach Lacey, you're in charge in the comments. Remind me if I don't come back to this being a good example of knowing the science and what you tell clients to do. Remind me, Zach Lacey, if I don't do that. So today, like I said, I'm going to talk about blue light, but why it's not just about blue light. And also, I want to give you a bit of background first about why it affects us so much, okay? So the advent of kind of smartphones, screens, social media have massively affected people's sleep, right? But it's not just, we can't just address it by blocking out blue light. So why is blue light such a problem? So we have rhythms, right? Some of us have more rhythm than others, obviously, but if you think about it, like we're a complex machine, okay? So to carry out all of the biological processes that we need at once, to keep us alive, it's A, not efficient, and B, not conducive to survival, right? Because if you imagine that every single process in your body that you need to stay alive was just running all the time, they're all running at the same time, like we'd all fucking die, basically. So we need, as we've evolved, we've needed a way to kind of have a rhythm to those processes and group them all together, right? So if you think about having this rhythm and having a predictable cycle that we can rely on to run our systems off, the most predictable rhythm or cycle that's been around since the beginning of time. I'm not going to go through, prehistoric and stuff, because I know Zach Lacey knows that I don't know my shit when it comes to that. But the most predictable rhythm or cycle that there is day and night, right? Light and dark. It's predictable and it's influential in terms of our environment. So, whether it's light or whether it's dark, that has an impact on us. It has an impact on our vision, for example. And the same way as, in the same way as we do as with plants, we use light for heat and energy. So it makes sense that the biological systems within us that harness light for heat and energy, they should be more active when it's light, right? And then shut down at nighttime to conserve energy. So you can see kind of how we've evolved using this day and night cycle. So a lot of the systems in our body are built around this cycle. But because it's a cycle in nature, it can't, it's not like somebody's programmed this exact 24-hour system because it's biological, right? So we can't say it's always exactly 24 hours. So our internal system, you've heard me talk about it before. If you're a regular viewer, our suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is the kind of master clock within our body, that is always slightly more than 24 hours. So most people, it's like 24.2 to 24.5. That's genetically determined from person to person, so you can't change that. So you can see that the 20, the night and day, that 24-ish hour clock and our internal clock, they need to synchronize in some way. So the way that we do that is we use external cues, right? We use environmental cues. So wherever you are in the day, if you're outside, if you're getting ready for bed or whatever, your brain is constantly scanning the environment, right, to look for clues, like what time of day is it? What should we be doing right now? Which processes should I be running? And then what it does is it makes adjustments all the time to make sure that our internal rhythm ends up matching the day and night rhythm, right? So the main input for this is light. Day is bright, night is dark, right? It's pretty simple. So we have a lot of systems in our eye. The main one, so there's obviously, actually I'm not going to talk about that. I don't need to go into like cones and red, green and blue in the retina and stuff. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not sure anyone's still here anyway. Are you all still here? I hope so. I'm going to actually ignore those rhythm comments because I want to get this out, right? Because I know that it's like a bit, maybe it's not that interesting and I've got a lot to say about it. So I'm just going to ignore your comments, Zach and Liam. Now I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, so I'm not going to talk about the whole systems in the eye, but there are a particular set of cells in the eye that respond well to an exact frequency of blue light. It's actually blue-green light, right? We just say blue light because that's the media label, right? And I think it's 417 nanometers, 480. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I can't remember. But essentially, it's the same kind of blue-green color as the sky, the ocean, things that we see outside in nature, right? So when those cells in our eye detect that particular frequency of light, they biologically suppress melatonin. So melatonin obviously is the hormone that helps us get to sleep. So if you are, if your retina is seeing this frequency of light, it's not going to produce melatonin, which is why people are like, oh my God, the blue light is really bad for you. I mean, it is kind of bad for you, right? If you are exposing yourself to it when you should be asleep. But there's different variations of it. So if you're sat in your lounge and all the lights are dimmed and you're watching something on TV from quite far away, that does not have the same impact as if you've got your fucking iPads like glued to your face, right? Because how much light is hitting your retina is different because, when you're watching the TV, like a lot of those photons are dissipated, right? Whereas if you've got your phone in front of you, that's like the direct, like there's loads of light hitting your retina. So it's different depending on what devices you're using, right? So yes, blue light does suppress melatonin production, but also it's not just about the blue light, right? So if you think about what are we doing now in front of our screens that we weren't doing 50 years ago, right? So we are binge watching Netflix, right? So rather than 20 years ago, like if you're as old as me, go ahead, Zach Lacey, in the comments, I don't care. You will remember if you were really into a TV show, you had to wait a whole week to watch another one, right? But now you can binge watch, right? So you've got things like Netflix, which allow you to binge watch. You've got video games, right? Liam, you're going to love me because I'm going to talk about video games now. So video games are obviously designed to be engaging, they're super interactive, right? So both of those things, Netflix and video games, there's greater time displacement going on. So if you think about it, if you've played a video game or you just binge watch Netflix and you're like, holy fuck, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, I didn't even realize, you're already shortening the time that you're going to be in bed. So there's that kind of time displacement thing. But there's also arousal and stimulation, right? So not only are you going to bed later because you are doing something super engaging and there's a lot of time displacement going on, you are exposing yourself to an intensity of blue light, but you're also super aroused and stimulated from a psychological function point of view. I'm talking about, obviously. So if you think about it, video games are probably the most arousing. I'm going to regret using that word, right? And then you've got social media as well, which is probably not quite as arousing, but it is designed, right? It's designed to keep you on it for as long as possible, like endless. Like, why do you think it's in a feed? Because you can just keep going and going and going. And then you've got those kind of recommendation algorithms. So you're like on YouTube is the worst, right? So you're on YouTube and then like it recommends something else. And then again, it's kind of this arousal, this need to keep going and going and going. So it's not just about blue light's bad for you. It's about, you know, being exposed to the blue light, the time displacement around a lot of these things being designed to keep you on them as long as possible, the physiological and brain function that's going on when actually your brain is telling you that it wants to go to sleep and you're just ignoring it, right? I mean, things like watching TV are slightly more passive, right? And you can put boundaries more easily around watching TV, right? I'm only going to watch 2 episodes of this and then I'm going to go to bed. So a TV episode has a start and an end. So it's not quite the same. So, you know, you can't say that watching TV is the same as playing a video game because you're exposed to blue light, because you've got to take in all of these other factors as well. And I think in the same way that, you know, I talked a little bit the other day about hunger, right? And about where the fuck ups come is where we completely ignore our biological and physical cues around hunger and satiety. We override them, right? And by staying up for hours on end, playing video games, binge watching Netflix, scrolling through Facebook, you're doing exactly the same thing, because your body will be telling you, I'm fucking tired, right? I want to go to bed. We know that it's dark outside, but for some reason it's not dark in here. Like when you override your body's biological cues with anything, hunger, sleep, like it all gets fucked up, basically. You're in a world of pain. You're not in a world of pain. That's very dramatic. Because our bodies are not evolved to be exposed to these kind of things, and we don't have a safety net around. Like, we have a biological safety net when we try and eat too much, right? Whether that's feeling really full, whether it's actually being sick because you've eaten too much, that is a kind of safety net for us, if you like, in terms of eating too much. We don't have a safety net around, you know, our body telling us, oh God, yeah, we're doing that video game thing again. Like, we should really stop this. Like, here's another signal, right? We don't have that. We don't have that. So that means that we will need to put our own boundaries in place so that we can actually, so that it doesn't affect our sleep. I guess I think that's probably all I want to say about that. I could talk about it for a long time. But instead, I'm going to tell you about some things that you can do to stop that, right? So obviously, first of all, you need to put some boundaries in place. And I know that's all shit and boring. And it's a bit like when your mum told you only 2 hours on the console or whatever. But saying I'm only going to watch 2 episodes of this, or I'm not going to have my phone in my bedroom, stuff like that. So you need to be disciplined about putting your own boundaries in place around this kind of stuff, because we don't have a natural safety net for it. So what are some of the practical things that you can do? So obviously you can get the blue block glasses if you need to be on screens late at night, or if you want to. Getting some of those blue block sunglasses will help. apps like Flux, Night Shift, the stuff which is already in your Apple products to reduce the blue light on your screen. One of the big ones that a lot of my clients do not like, so we do it in stages. So the ultimate aim, right, is to not have your phone in your bedroom. It's a fucking nightmare. I don't know why people do it. Maybe because they don't understand the impact that it's having on their sleep for all of those reasons. Like I said before, it is not just about blue light. So when I get resistance to people not having their phone in their bedroom, which is a lot, we do it in stages, right? So the first stage is I get people to change their phone to grayscale. So if you've got an iPhone, I don't know about Android. If you go into the accessibility features, there is a feature there which allows you to set your phone to grayscale, which is essentially black and white. So what that means is you don't see any of the little red notifications. The photos don't look as appealing when you're scrolling on social media. You know, YouTube is no longer bright red, all of those kind of things. So it makes the phone look less appealing. When you pick it up, I've got a client who I'm actually doing this with at the moment. She said to me, she picks it up and she's like, it's a twofold thing. First of all, it doesn't look as appealing. She can't tell if she's got any Facebook notifications without really looking at it. The second thing is when she picks it up and it's black and white, she's like, oh yeah, I've just remembered we've done this because I'm meant to be reducing the amount of my phone time. So there's like a kind of twofold effect of doing that. So that's the first thing we do. If they have to take their phone into their bedroom, it needs to be on grayscale. Once we're okay with that, the second thing we do is I say to them, if you want to use your phone in your bedroom, it's totally fine, but you're not allowed to be in bed. You have to stand up by the side of the bed every time you want to use the phone. So when you want to use the phone, you get out of bed and you stand there, right? Why? Because A, it's less convenient, and B, you should be physically tired. So your legs should be saying like, fuck this, mate, I want to get into bed. Like, what are we doing? Because it's all too easy, right? You're nice and comfy and cozy in bed. You've got your phone next to you scrolling. Do not make it comfortable. Make it as uncomfortable as possible. So once we've done those two things, then we take the phone out of the bedroom. So yeah, those are kind of my tips. I'm giving you my tips for what you can do in terms of reducing that blue light and the arousal and stimulation around some of the other things you might be doing at bedtime. This is a really good illustration of what my post was about this morning. So I don't know if you saw my post this morning where yesterday I had a little moment of doubt, shall we say, about the fact that, oh God, like these lives this week are just too sciencey. Like people are not going to want to know this shit. And, you know, maybe it's going to be boring. People aren't going to watch it. Zach Lacey did actually give my head a bit of a wobble about that. So yes, I'm giving him credit for something else again. Yes, Zach, the thing that you're reminding me about is the thing that I'm going to talk about now. So I obviously said, oh, I don't want it to be too sciencey. Maybe people won't watch it, all that kind of stuff, right? This is the perfect example, what I've just spoken about now, of whether you want or need to know the science behind this. So when I've got a client who's got a problem with sleep, I don't tell them all this shit. I just say to them, right, the first thing I want you to do is put your phone to grayscale. And then we'll do that for a week. And then I might say the phone in the bedroom, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't want people to think, oh my God, I would never work with her. She's going to tell me loads of fucking shit first. I don't do that. I say to them, right, I want you to use your phone when you stood by your bed. If they say why, then I might explain some of this stuff that I've been talking about on this video, right? If they're really interested I've got lots of resources where I've written a lot of this stuff down. I'm in the process at the moment of recording an 8-week sleep course, 8 weeks to better sleep. So I might say to them, look, go and watch this video, which will explain why I'm asking you to do these things. So I just thought maybe today was a good illustration of what I was trying to get across in my post this morning, which is like, I want people to know the science behind this because they become more invested in it and they see why actually they need to do it. But you don't have to know it all or want to know it all. But, and I don't need to tell it all to people to show off. Like, I just need to give them those action points. And if they want to, they know that there's some science behind it. And that's why I'm asking them to do stuff. It's not just stuff I've fucking made up. I hope that makes sense, what I'm trying to get across. Anyway, Liam, this is not good. I would suggest that you find another way of going to sleep, honestly. That is probably, listen to me, I'm not telling you what to do, right? Is your sleep a problem? If your sleep isn't a problem, like, carry on doing what you're doing, right? That's quite an important point to make, actually. People are different, obviously, right? So in terms of this light sensitivity thing, right, it's variable from person to person. Because if you think of it from an evolutionary perspective, like, we're not all made in a factory. We're not all the same. Like, my light sensitivity is going to be different to yours, Liam. And from an evolutionary perspective, that's a good idea, right? Because if we were all exactly the same and some fucking thing happened, I don't know, that some super bright star, I don't know, came into our orbit and we were all super sensitive and we all fucking died, that would be the human race, like, wiped out, right? So maybe some people who were less light sensitive would be the survivors, basically. So yes, it might be that you have a completely different light sensitivity to other people and maybe that's not affecting your sleep, but I should imagine it's affecting your reward pathways and parts of your brain are getting aroused, which is not conducive to sleep. Right, I think that's quite enough from me for one day. Let me know if you found this useful. Let me know if you actually cared about knowing why blue light is bad for us, because people, especially the media, like, oh my God, blue light's so bad. And, labeling it as the culprit to all our sleep issues, right? But hopefully now that you know why it's important to get blue light at the correct time of day, you may be more inclined to make some changes to your sleep routine.